Novak Djokovic criticizes Jannik Sinner over his doping case and talks about preferential treatment. Novak Djokovic has been very critical of what happened with Jannik Sinner and his positive doping case, especially because of the light sanction he received. Novak Djokovic decided to withdraw from the ATP Finals, which are taking place these days, but he still keeps making headlines. First, for the criticism sparked by his last-minute withdrawal from the tournament in Turin, and now for an interview he gave to Piers Morgan in which he discussed several hot topics in tennis. One of the most notable issues he addressed was Jannik Sinner's doping case. The Italian player tested positive for clostebol during the Indian Wells tournament last season, although it didn't come to light until the US Open. Sinner received a minimal 3-month ban from competitions, but his suspension came after the Australian Open, meaning he only missed major events such as the Masters 1000 in Indian Wells, Monte Carlo, and Madrid, but was back in time for Roland Garros. For that reason, Djokovic spoke out on the matter and strongly criticized the Sinner case. Djokovic highly critical of Jannik Sinner after his positive doping test. "I think he didn't do it on purpose, but of course he's responsible," was the statement with which Djokovic began to give his opinion on what happened with Sinner after his positive doping test, showing strong criticism by saying that although he doesn't doubt it was unintentional, the way everything was handled has a lot of red flags. The biggest one was the tiny sanction compared to other similar cases, as many players had already complained about at the time. We could hear many other players, both men and women, complaining in the media that he was given preferential treatment. When you see someone in a similar case being sanctioned for several years, and he only gets 3 months, that's not right. But not only the short sanction raises doubts for Noel and the entire circuit, but also the conveniently timed suspension period also sparks suspicion. Djokovic denounces the Sinner case and defends the player, the lack of transparency, the inconsistency, the convenience of the sanction happening between 2 Grand Slams so that he wouldn't miss them. It was very, very strange. So I really don't like how the case was handled, said the Serbian, in a forceful statement in which he mainly pointed to the ATP and ISHA, International Tennis Integrity Agency, claiming they didn't manage the case properly. However, he wanted to defend Sinner personally, saying he is handling the situation well. "It's not easy for him. I feel empathy and compassion for him. I think he's handled the media storm that resurfaces from time to time very well. He's managing it with a lot of maturity and calmness, and he deserves credit for that. And amid all this, he continues to dominate and play incredibly, winning Grand Slams," concluded Noel. Jean-Pierre Verdy, former head of the French anti-doping agency, says the more powerful the athlete, the more likely they are to get away with it. In an interview with La Dépêche, Jean-Pierre Verdy, former head of the French anti-doping agency, spoke frankly about Jannik Sinner's sanction. The Italian tested positive in March 2024 for clostebol, an anabolic steroid, and reached an agreement with the World Anti-Doping Agency for a suspension of only 3 months, which many found ridiculous. Among them, Verdy, "It's not common what happened, but the more powerful the athlete, the more likely they are to get away with it. The excuses are always the same, this time it was his masseur, but this kind of explanation is only possible for the biggest names. Anyone else in his situation would have been banned for 2 or 3 years." The former head of the French anti-doping agency, who was one of the key figures in the historic sanction against Lance Armstrong, believes that if it had been another player, the sanction could have gone from 3 to 36 months. "It was light compared to the substance and the average punishment given to an athlete caught with the same substance. Anyone else would have received 2 or 3 years in the same case," he explained. "This is the first time, as far as I know. Direct agreements between the athlete and WADA are unprecedented. Will this set a precedent? Will other athletes follow this example?" he concluded. After the Sinner case, the ISHA suspends another tennis player for doping. Facundo Bagnis, 35 years old and once ranked number 56 in the world, tested positive for hydrochlorothiazide, one of the substances banned by the TASP. The International Tennis Integrity Agency, ITIA, had already shown with Jannik Sinner this year that it wouldn't be taking half measures. Thus, on Thursday it announced the provisional suspension of Argentine player Facundo Bagnis for violating the Tennis Anti-Corruption Program, TACP, due to the use of a prohibited substance. Bagnis, 35, was disqualified after deciding to voluntarily accept a provisional suspension. The player, who reached a career-high ranking of number 55 in November 2016, provided a sample during the qualifying tournament of the US Open on August 18, 2025. The sample contained hydrochlorothiazide, a substance banned by the TASP, which belongs to the class of diuretic medications, pills that promote water elimination through urine. During the suspension, the player is prohibited from playing, training, or attending any tennis event authorized or sanctioned by ACCUSES members, ATP, ITF, WTA, Tennis Australia, French Tennis Federation, Wimbledon, and USTA, or any national association. The time served under provisional suspension will be deducted from any future sanction, as reported by the ACCUSES. ATP announces a new Masters 1000 for 2028. The ATP announced on Thursday that Saudi Arabia will host a new Masters 1000, the 10th on the circuit, starting in 2028. This will be the first expansion in the number of Masters 1000 tournaments since the category was introduced in 1990, and although it's not yet official, everything points to it being played in January before the start of the Australian Open, the first Grand Slam of the season. The Saudi Masters 1000 will join the existing ones in Indian Wells, Miami, Monte Carlo, Rome, Canada, Toronto and Montreal, Cincinnati, Shanghai, and Paris. The creation of this tournament has been made possible thanks to collaboration with Surge Sports Investment, one of the companies of Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, PIF. This is a proud moment for us and the result of a journey that has developed over years, said ATP President Andrea Gaudenzi, who concluded his statement by saying, Saudi Arabia has shown a genuine commitment to tennis, not only at the professional level but also by helping it grow at all levels. We believe fans and players will be thrilled with what's coming. Sinner sends a warning to Alcaraz in his Turin debut. Jannik Sinner showed he's coming in strong for the ATP Finals. The Italian debuted in Turin, with all the crowd behind him, and displayed the solid form he's known for. His opponent, Felix Auger-Aliassime, put up a fight in the first set but couldn't match Sinner's consistency, 7-5, 6-1, who remains the best indoor player in the world. The Canadian started the match well, holding serve easily and winning rallies against the Italian. Felix's big serves allowed him to stay close to his rival, who chose to serve first. But in his third service game, Sinner turned up the pressure from the return side. He had 2 break points, but strong first serves allowed Felix to survive. With 5-4 for the Italian, Auger-Aliassime saved a set point and held on tightly in the set. The match began to smell like a tiebreak, but that's when the Canadian's energy faded. He started the game with a 30-0 lead but Sinner kept pressing and earned a break point at the perfect moment. First set to him. The Canadian went straight to the locker room to reset and perhaps receive treatment. The truth is, he didn't look good during the final game of the set, which Sinner closed after a big unforced error from his opponent, who hit a slice that barely touched the bottom of the net. Whether from fatigue or discomfort, the Canadian seemed uneasy. That feeling carried into the second set. Felix returned, but not at the level he had shown early in the match. Sinner stayed unbeatable on serve, not facing a single break point, and quickly broke the Canadian's serve, who even double faulted to put himself in danger. He tried a forehand, but it landed just outside. A 4-0 run for the Italian, including the first set. Auger-Aliassime injured. Sinner held his serve and, from then on, the Canadian requested medical timeouts in every changeover. He kept competing on serve, especially when landing his first serves, because his movement was clearly limited by physical problems. Even so, he wanted to finish the match, aware that playing in Turin is a special opportunity. Again, with a 4-1 lead for the Italian, Auger-Aliassime lost his serve. He volleyed weakly near the net, and Sinner quickly finished the job. Victory for Jannik, who will face Alexander Zverev in his second group stage match, after the German beat American Ben Shelton in his debut. Sinner's words after the match showed a balance between ambition and perspective. As he continues his campaign in the Bjorn Borg group, with a duel against Alexander Zverev as his next test, the Italian is aware of what's at stake and of the importance of the process. Defending 1,500 points and the title he won without dropping a set in 2024 is no small task. At 24 years old, he needs to lift the trophy if he wants to finish the season as world number 1, and he must also hope for an early exit from Carlos Alcaraz. After both started with wins worth 200 points, the Spaniard still leads the live rankings by 1,050 points.